Here begins videotape number 1 in the deposition of Andrew Blair in the matter of Wendy Destefano et al. Versus Children's National Medical Center et al. In the Superior Court of the District of Columbia, Civil Division, case number 2010 CA 000-1935B. Today's date is February 18th, 2013. The time on the video monitor is 9:39 a.m. The video operator today is Terry Michael King of Merrill Ladd. This video deposition is taking place at Merrill Ladd, 1325 G Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. Counsel, please voice identify yourselves and state who you represent.
I'm Dawn Martin. I represent the plaintiffs.
I'm Adam Smith. I represent Children's National Medical Center.
Chris Hassel for Colonial Parking.
The court reporter today is Laurie Gooden of Merrill Ladd. Would the reporter please swear in the witness?
I ask you to raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm, under the penalties of perjury, that your testimony today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Blair.
Good morning.
As you know, I'm Dawn Martin, and I represent the plaintiffs in this case, who are minor children known in this litigation as by their initials as GI and VI. The questions being asked in this deposition relate to the injuries that these children sustained on March 11, 2009, when GI fell down an open air shaft in the garage at Children's National Medical Center, which is managed and operated by Colonial Parking, of which you are the president and CEO. Today I'm going to be asking you questions about the contractual relationship between the hospital and Colonial Parking and Colonial's duty to its customers, specifically children's hospitals, patients, and their families who park in the Colonial-operated garage on the hospital's premises. And we are having a hearing on this matter on the 21st, which is this Thursday.
Number 9.
Thank you.
Okay, exhibit number 9 is a page from Colonial's website, www.ecolonial.com/parkers/. And actually, I have underlined a couple sections just to make it easier for you to spot where I want to direct your attention. First of all, let me just ask you, you testified about the website before. Do you recognize this page of Colonial's website?
Is this the homepage?
Well, no, it's the colonial.com.parkers page. If you look at the website and the bottom left hand.
I actually don't recognize this page. I don't think I've been here for quite a while. But
okay. Would it be at all helpful if Mr. Gallardo pulled it up on the web page, the actual website, or does it matter?
Well, sure, because this doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, sure. Let's get it on the website then. And I'm sorry they don't print out. I just hit print, and so this is the way it came out. It doesn't all come out the way it is on the screen. Do you see the website here?
Yeah, I see.
Parker's probably it's under Parker's.
Parker's, okay.
See Parker's there?
Okay, I see that.
There it is. That's the page. Okay, if you want to please show it to Terry.
Okay, so you're going to read this? Right here?
Yeah, we can show it to Terry, and then we can show it to Mr. Blair, but let Terry get it on the screen. And after we cover this, we'll just break for lunch. Let's just give you.
Jump on. Go as long as you like.
Okay, if you can turn it so Mr. Blair can see it. Okay, does that look more familiar to you, Mr. Blair?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And how do you recognize that webpage?
Oh, there they are over here. Yeah. I'm sorry?
How do you recognize the webpage?
Because it's our webpage.
Okay. And did you have a part in developing that webpage?
I did.
Okay. What was your role in that?
I oversaw the project.
Okay. And did you review it before it was posted?
Uh-huh.
And did you approve it?
Yep.
Okay. Looking at the upper left-hand corner where there's the gentleman with a pullover cap with the Colonial logo on it, do you see that?
Yep.
Okay. And you see it says under his photograph, no matter which way you park, you'll always enjoy the safety, convenience, and friendly smile that says Colonial. Okay. What is intended by that message on the website?
That it's a safe and convenient place to park your car, and we have good people who do it.
Okay. Now, over right next to the right of that photograph, you see it says, with over 225 locations throughout the city, you can be sure to find a Colonial Parking facility nearby. Is it accurate to say that the message that is intended by Colonial on its website is to say that at any of the 225 or more locations, you can expect the same level of safety in a Colonial garage?
Well, I would just say it's about the car. Safe place to park your car. Yeah, it would apply to those places.
So you're saying that safety only applies to the car and not to people walking in the garage after they park their car?
No, it's about...
Okay, so the car is safe, but the person could walk out of the car and fall out of a hole, and that's not Colonial's problem?
Objection, argumentative, lacks foundation.
You've asked me what we intended by what was put in a marketing piece on our website, and the intent was to talk about the safety and convenience of parking in our garages.
Okay, and what I'm trying to be clear on is that, are you saying that safety does not include personal safety, but only the safety of the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. So your car would be safe, but the people walking through it could be in serious danger, and
Same objection.
is that what you're saying?
It's argumentative.
I'm saying our business is the business of parking cars. We are not in the business of maintaining the structures in which our parking operations are situated.
So customers can expect to be safe in Colonial garages when they walk through them after they park their car? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying this has to do with, our statement here has to do with the parking of cars.
Okay, and would you...
That's what we do.
Okay,
It says right there, we park cars.
Would you read back the question, please?
So customers can't expect to be safe in Colonial garages when they walk through them after they park their car. Is that what you are saying?
Objection, it's argumentative.
I would hope that the landlords that own the buildings in which we operate their parking garages would maintain their facilities in such a way that our customers would not feel that.
So, this statement, no matter which way you park, you'll always enjoy the safety. You'll refers to a car and not a person?
Same objection, it's
It
argumentative.
refers to their car.
You'll.
They are driving a car. You'll be driving a car.
So they won't enjoy this, the person parking won't enjoy any safety, but the car will enjoy safety. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is our business is parking cars. We do that in facilities owned by other people who are responsible for the premises safety of those buildings.
Okay, I want to be clear too. You say our business is parking cars. And we've already established that in many of your garages, it's self-park, isn't that correct?
It's a combination of self-park and
Right, and at Children's National Medical Center, isn't the norm self-park?
I don't believe that's the case. There is a lot of valet parking
Okay,
that goes on at Children's Hospital.
Okay, but isn't it primarily a self-park garage?
I don't believe so, no.
You believe that more often Colonial employees park people's cars than pay, and I got to finish my sentence, please, than people park themselves, employees and patients and parents of patients? You believe that typically Colonial parking attendants are parking the cars rather than the person who is driving the car?
I don't have specific knowledge of the split of business between self-park and valet park there. I just know that on a daily basis, we handle a number of cars, a fair amount of cars, and have a fairly intensive practice of parking cars in aisles to increase the capacity of the garage.
Okay, but you would agree then that a large number of people are self-parking and having to walk to the garage to get to the hospital, isn't that correct?
I'm agreeing that people have self-park their cars and walk in the garage, yes.
Okay. And with this message, you'll always enjoy the safety that says Colonial. You're saying that that doesn't apply to personal safety, just the security of the car?
Asked and answered.
That was my answer, yes.
Oh, yeah, you can take that away.
Can we go off the record for just 1 second?
Sure.
We're going off the record. The time is 12:47 p.m.
And marked as Exhibit 12 is Colonial Parking's Employee's Guide to Safety. That's its title, dated 2005. Well, first, I'm obviously give you an opportunity to look at it and tell me if you recognize the document.
I recognize the document.
Okay, how do you recognize it?
Council showed it to me recently.
Oh, okay. Other than your conversations with counsel, which of course are privileged, have you seen this document in any other context?
I don't recall having seen this before, no.
Okay, then it'd be fair to say you had no role in developing it, is that correct?
That would be fair to say.
Okay. I'd like to turn your attention, even if you haven't seen the actual document, I'd like to turn your attention to page 11, section 5, called Good Housekeeping Program. And just the introduction to it says, a clean and tidy facility is a safer workplace. Accidents and injuries can be avoided and productivity improved when a daily routine is followed. That's why we ask you to help by upholding our standards for good housekeeping. And then it goes on to talk about walk-around assessment and the need for employee participation. And I want to give you an opportunity to read it, unless you've read it recently and you're familiar with it already. But I wanted to ask you if what's stated here is consistent with your understanding of Colonial's policies and procedures.
Yes.
Okay. And that would include the walk-around assessment. I'm just going to quickly to read it. At least 3 times a day, the shift manager should walk around the facility, paying particular attention to spills, obstructions, refuse, improper storage of materials, and other hazards that show poor housekeeping. Employees are asked to identify and recommend corrective actions for their areas. A copy of the walk-around assessment form is available at each facility or from your manager for you to review. Again, is that consistent with your understanding of Colonial's policies and procedures?
We clearly want our managers walking around to make sure we look sharp.
Okay. And how is that conveyed to the managers?
By their managers, I assume?
Is there anything institutionalized at Colonial to convey that message to managers?
I believe there are some checklists which are used to guide their walking around facilities, yes.
Okay. To next.
Thank you.
Okay, what's been marked as Exhibit 13, is that the form that you just referred to as the walk-around report that's used?
It's consistent with my knowledge of what such a report would look like, yes.
Okay, have you seen this document before?
I have.
Okay. And when did you see this document? And again, if it would require you to discuss a conversation with counsel, obviously that's privileged, but other than that, have you seen this before?
Well, I'm not exactly sure how to deal with that caveat, so I'll just answer, yes, I've seen it.
Okay. Okay. Do you know how this form is distributed to managers within Colonial?
I have no direct knowledge, no.
Do you know how long it's been Colonial's policy to use this form?
I do not.
Do you know who developed this form?
I do not.
Do you know who would know who developed this form?
Perhaps someone in our claims department?
Can you name someone that should know who created this form?
Objection to the should.
Um,
Foundation for that.
In particular, I would have no idea who in 10/10/2005 would have created this form. No.
Okay, when you worked in the claims department, did you ever see any sort of form that was used for inspections?
I do not recall.
Okay. Are you aware of any predecessor form to this form?
No.
You know, whose job would it be to create a form like this?
Someone in our risk management department.
Was Getta Wald the risk manager in 2005?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Did Getta Wald leave Colonial voluntarily, or was he fired?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Who would know the answer to that?
Julian Bromesco, who was his manager.
Okay, is that actually Julianne or Julie? How does she?
It's Julian, Julienne, Bromesco, Bramasco.
Yeah. Actually, I do know who she is. I just want to make sure I was pronouncing her name correctly. I thought it was Julianne, spelling the first name correctly, making it clear that she's a woman. And of course, Ms. Bromesco no longer works for Colonial, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and it's actually Mr. Villa who's replaced her as general counsel, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Was there anyone else, say in personnel, who would be familiar with Mr. Wald's personnel file that would know whether he was fired or whether he left voluntarily?
Perhaps, yeah, is someone in HR?
And who would that be?
Marcia Warbington?
Worthington?
Warbington?
Warbington.
M-I-N-G,
Is that W-E-R-B-I-N?
if I may, W-A-R-M-I-N-G-T-O-N.
Thank you. Wormington, okay. Okay. Put these back in the right envelope here. Okay, Miguel, can you please put that back in the right envelope? I don't know where it is. Okay, I'll go back to the 97 contract. Thank you. Which is marked Exhibit 2. And,
2 or 3?
oh, I have 2, is it?
I have 3.
Is it, do you know? You have 3, well, it's marked on yours, so you must be right. Okay, I had written 2 on it. That's maybe, can I borrow it for a second, please? Yes, Okay, 3 then. Page 5. Looking at small Roman numeral 3, it says, starting from the, well, I'll read the first. Operation and general maintenance of said parking garage in a first-class manner in conformity with this agreement. General maintenance shall include, but not be limited to, general cleaning of the parking garage to owner's reasonable satisfaction, parentheses, i.e., treatment of oil spills, sweeping and trash pickup and removal, close parentheses, as well as patrolling, sweeping, and the emptying of all trash containers in the garage stairwells, patient drop-off areas, and other such connected pedestrian areas. Now, was the term patrolling a new provision or new word added to the 1997 contract?
I believe it was.
Okay, and why was that word added?
Because we were clarifying that in this instance, some of our cleaning responsibilities went into garage stairwells, patient drop-off areas, and other connected pedestrian areas, which was not either usual or, I believe, in the prior draft.
Okay, now, since the previous clause already says cleaning to the owner's satisfaction and specifies trash pickup, removal, oil spills, sweeping, what was the purpose of adding patrolling if it meant nothing more than was already stated there?
Like a foundation asked and answered. Go ahead.
Patrolling is with respect to litter pickup.
Number 14.
Thank you.
Okay, what's been marked as Exhibit 14 is the Merriam-Webster online definition of the word patrol. I'm just going to read it to you and ask you about the meaning in relation to this contract. First, definition 1A is the action of traversing a district or beat or of going the rounds along a chain of guards for observation or the maintenance of security. B, the person performing such action. C, a unit of persons or vehicles employed for reconnaissance, security, or combat. 2, a subdivision of a Boy Scout troop or Girl Scout troop. Now, obviously, I think we can rule out that you weren't talking about Boy or Girl Scouts here. Is that fair to say?
Fair to say.
Okay. Now, is there any reason why, or is there anything in the contract that would indicate that the word patrolling in this contract does not mean its dictionary definition of 1A, the action of traversing a district or beat or of going the rounds along a chain of guards for observation of the maintenance of security?
Objection. The document speaks for itself. Go ahead.
Yes, the fact that the word patrolling is in the maintenance section would suggest it has nothing to do with security. It has to do with maintenance.
Well, in terms of maintaining the premises in a efficient manner to the satisfaction of the client, which is the hospital, wouldn't that reasonably include maintaining the premises in a condition where there were not any safety hazards?
It would not.
And is there anything in this contract that indicates that it would not?
The fact that responsibility for the premises are spelled out as those that being the responsibility of the owner of the hospital.
Okay, still the 2002 contract.
2002 or 97?
Oh, 2002, I'm sorry. This is, here we go. To put that back, please, and get me the 2002.
We done with Miriam?
I'm sorry.
We done with Webster?
Yes, we're done with Webster for today. Okay. Pages 7 to 8. It's actually the top of page 8, second full sentence. Manager shall also supply a new $4,800 golf cart to patrol the parking garage. What was the purpose of that provision?
I have no idea.
Okay, you did not negotiate this provision?
This is the 2002 contract.
Okay, did you approve this provision?
I signed this contract.
Okay, and you approved it, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any discussions with anyone about why this golf cart provision was added to the contract?
It's not unusual for us to have a golf cart in a garage to move people around, to just be present so people know where we are in case they need our services.
Okay, well this says...
And this is a very big garage.
Okay, and this specifically says the golf cart is to patrol the parking garage. So earlier you testified that the purpose of patrolling was to pick up trash. Is the purpose of this golf cart to pick up trash around the parking garage?
No, it's just
Objection, lack of foundation.
Did you get that, Harmony? Yeah, that was good.
I made that statement with respect to the 97 contract and the fact that that language was present in the maintenance section, which is the use of the word patrol there.
Okay, so does the use of the word patrol in the 2002 contract have a different meaning than it did in 97?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Join in that.
I'm not familiar with this language enough to know whether it's to ease maintenance or to simply move people around, or it's a big garage and we want to have our managers moving around, as we've said, and would easier to do this in a cart than on foot.
Okay, well, let me just ask you this. Is it Colonial's practice to pick up trash using the golf cart?
Not that I'm aware of, but I don't know.
Now, with respect to the manager's daily check sheet that we were looking at earlier, and the contract provision that we discussed with respect to, well, scratch that. With respect to the manager's facility check sheets that we reviewed and the Colonial Parking's guide to safety, we talked about the walk-around assessments 3 times a day. Is it appropriate for a shift manager to delegate the responsibility of the walk-around assessment to anyone else?
I don't know.
Objection.
I don't know the answer to that
Not
question.
reasonably calculated.
Okay.
Thank you.
So how is this, the job description have anything to do with the contract? How is this at all relevant to the issue for this deposition?
It is absolutely relevant because it establishes the shift manager's duty to inspect for safety hazards.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you an opportunity to look this over, Mr. Blair.
Okay.
Okay. Have you seen this document before?
I believe so.
Hey, when did you see it?
I recall having seen it when putting together a proposal at some point. It's familiar to me.
Okay, did you have any part in developing this job description?
No.
Okay, and for the record, it says position title, shift manager, department operations, and sets out the primary duties of a shift manager. And I'd like to draw your attention to number 3, which says maintains parking site and adjacent areas free of debris and dirt, notifies cognizant manager concerning observed need for repairs or other attention. Do you agree that that is a duty of a shift manager?
Lack of foundation. Did you say you've never seen this before, or did you say
I
you
think I
have?
may have seen it in the prepper. I cannot say I haven't seen it, but there was a proposal we put together in the last several years where we had to include job descriptions, and I believe this was in that, but that's the best I can give you.
Okay.
Okay, so I object to lack of foundation. He didn't write it or anything, but go ahead and
Okay,
answer the
he's also
question.
the president and CEO of Colonial and has worked his way up through numerous positions along the way, and oversees all operations as he's testified, so he should be familiar with the duties of a shift manager, and he testified about the duties of a shift manager earlier. So, all I'm going to say about that, but I don't believe you answered the question. And did you answer the question?
I don't remember what the question was.
Understandable. Would you read it back, please?
I'd like to draw your attention to number 3, which says maintains parking site and adjacent areas free of debris and dirt, notifies cognizant manager concerning observed need for repairs or other attention. Do you agree that that is a duty of a shift manager?
It's consistent with my knowledge of the role, yes.
Okay. And
Thank you.
okay, I'll give you, let me know when you've had an opportunity to review it, Mr. Blair.
Okay.
Okay. Have you seen this document before?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Are you familiar with the duties of a cashier or parking attendant at Colonial?
Not specifically on a day-to-day basis. It's been quite a while since I've been anywhere close to managing cashiers and attendants.
Okay. I'd like to direct your attention to number 8, which says responsible for the appearance of the cashier's office and parking area, including sweeping the booth, keeping booth windows clean, picking up paper and debris, and at the direction of the supervisor, additional housekeeping and cleaning duties such as spreading oil absorbent, sweeping up oil spills, shoveling snow, and cleaning the restroom. Is that something that you understand to be a duty of a cashier or attendant?
I believe that cashiers and attendants are asked to perform light housekeeping duties, yes, and that would be consistent with that.
Okay, now spreading oil absorbent, what is the purpose of that?
Cars occasionally drop a little bit of oil on the floor, and You put oil absorbent down on that to get the oil up, and then you sweep that up.
Okay, and isn't that for the purpose of avoiding people slipping and falling on the oil?
It's really for the purpose of not having oil on the concrete, which stains it, but it does create a tripping hazard, yes.
Okay. I'd like to go back to the check sheets. Do I have them here? Pretty thick. Okay, maybe give us a minute here.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, now, looking at the check sheets, do you see at the items on the check sheet that it requires the shift manager to check for lights that have burned out? It's the second item on the, okay. And do you know what the purpose of that is?
It's pretty dark, there aren't lights on.
Max Foundation, go ahead.
And why does that matter?
Because it creates an unsafe work environment.
And are the lights considered structural or a non-structural aspect of the garage
Depends on the contract.
within the context of this contract, the 2002 contract with Children's
I'd
Hospital?
have to check.
Sure, go ahead.
That is not our responsibility under the contract in the 2002 contract,
And where do you see that?
on page 5.
Okay, I'm looking at page
Romanette IV.
Okay, do you see anything about lights in there?
It says the last line, including replacement of bulbs and tubes.
Okay. Okay, it says it shall include but not be limited to. Okay, so wouldn't the replacement of bulbs be considered a structural?
Right, that's why I said it falls into the landlord's
Okay,
responsibility.
okay. Oh, all right, that wasn't my question about whether it falls into the landlord's responsibility. My question was, are the lights considered a major structural item?
Yes.
Okay. And then if it's a major structural item for which Colonial is not responsible, why does Colonial inspect for lights missing or being out?
Because part of what we're doing is trying to ensure that there's a safe working environment. And if we see something like a light out that's creating a hazard for our employees, we want to know about that.
Okay, and when you say hazard for employees, would that also include hazards for customers?
You know, my understanding of the majority of this work is around a safe working environment and loss control efforts around workers' comp.
Okay, so this inspecting, they're doing the walk-around assessment 3 times a day and using this form is for the purpose of protecting employees only, is that correct, for workers' comp purposes?
I was also pointing to the section which you pointed out in Employee's Guide to Safety. A clean and tidy facility is a safer workplace. So a lot, and then we go to the walk around. So yes, I believe a large portion of the focus here is around loss prevention for workers' comp.
Okay, and do you think it has nothing to do with protecting customers?
I don't know it well enough to know that. I'm going off of what you've presented me today and what I know about this form and what I know about our loss control efforts.
Now, what are you basing your answer regarding the purpose for which it was written, since you testified you didn't know who wrote it?
I'm going back to just my general knowledge of our loss control efforts and where we focus our loss control efforts is in terms of what we're trying to look out for in the facilities.
Okay, and isn't part of loss control also avoiding lawsuits by customers in the garage who are injured?
I don't know about avoiding lawsuits. It's keeping aware of our surroundings in terms of particularly hazards which can impact employees.
Okay, and so when if a patient is injured in the garage, or a customer otherwise suffers a loss, whether of property or personal injury, don't they file a claim with Colonial?
Objection, it's speculation.
Well, it's not speculation. He's a claims adjuster, and he's the president and CEO of the company. Certainly
Well,
something that would be within his reach. He testified
I mean,
about
it was a
processing.
hypothetical about just anybody? Is that what, the
No,
question didn't make a lot of sense.
Did you process claims made by customers?
For damage claims to cars, yes.
Yes, okay. And so, wouldn't part of your loss prevention include making sure that conditions do not exist that cause damage to property or persons?
I believe I've already said that, yes, our duty in parking cars is to take care of the car. And I think we have an equal responsibility to our employees to make sure that they have a safe workplace.
Doesn't the Colonial website actually say we don't just park cars?
It may, I don't know.
And isn't the contract that Colonial has with Children's National Medical Center a contract that involves management and maintenance and housekeeping and not just parking cars?
But it's all around the parking garage and the movement of cars in and out of the garage. We're a parking management firm.
And you manage and operate the garage at Children's National Medical Center, isn't that correct? Or Colonial does?
According to the terms of this contract, yes.
Yes, okay. So this contract involves a lot more than parking cars, doesn't it?
Objection, the document speaks for itself.
Yes.
All right, going down the list, do you see that the form requires the shift manager to inspect for oil spills?
Sorry, I got lost. We're around the sheet.
Back to
Okay.
Yes. Claim access, absorb it, available. Oil ice, yes, I see that.
Okay. And what is the purpose of that?
Objection, lack of foundation.
To direct the shift manager to look for oil, ice, and water on the floor.
And what would the shift manager be required to do if he or she sees oil on the floor?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Put absorbent on it. We've already talked about that.
Okay. And within the meaning of the contract, is the floor considered a structural or non-structural aspect of the garage?
Objection, the document speaks for itself.
Repairs to the floor are considered a structural element.
Okay, and inspecting the floor, okay. Okay, I didn't ask about repairing the floor, whether it's, I asked very simply, is the floor a structural or non-structural aspect of the garage?
It is a structural aspect of the garage.
Okay, and the form requires the shift manager to inspect the floor for oil spills, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and also for potholes, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, now, with respect to the spalding, which is the third item, which I understand is supposed to be spalling instead of spalding, is that your understanding as well?
I'm not a good speller.
Okay. What areas to be inspected to inspect for spalling or spalding?
No,
Objection, lack of foundation.
that would commonly be on the surface of the garage,
Okay, and by surface,
the floor.
the floor, in your view, it's the floor only?
I believe that's what spalling would apply to, yes.
Okay, because it says surface says plural. Do you know what other why it says plural?
No,
Okay.
but it says potholes as well.
Right, potholes / spalding. Do you know if surfaces would also include the ceilings or the walls?
Objection, lack of foundation. It's been answered.
I don't know that.
Okay. Okay, let me just for a moment. Right. Oh, okay. Okay, and why is the Colonial Shift Manager told to inspect for potholes?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Because they could be a tripping hazard for employees.
Okay. Could they also be a tripping hazard for patients using the
Potentially.
garage? I'm sorry?
Potentially,
Okay. And other visitors and customers to the garage?
potentially.
And the check sheet requires the shift manager to inspect for wires hanging down, is that correct? Fifth item down.
Yes.
Okay, is the electrical work considered a structural or non-structural aspect of the garage?
With respect to the professional operating equipment, it's non-structural.
Okay. Now, what about drain covers? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th item down. Are the drain covers considered structural or non-structural?
Structural.
Okay. And why is the shift manager instructed to inspect the drain covers to see if they're in place?
Objection, lack of foundation.
Car drives over an open drain, it'll punch its tire out.
Okay. Doesn't it also present a trip hazard?
Could.
Okay. What is the shift manager required to do if there's an uncovered drain?
Objection, lack of foundation.
I would expect him to make sure cars don't drive over it.
How would he or she do that?
Put a cone on it.
Okay. Would you also expect, or I shouldn't say should expect, is the employer shift manager required to report it or do anything to see that it's repaired?
Same objection, lack of foundation.
I don't know. I don't know how that, I don't know what happens.
Okay. See, the shift manager is instructed to check to see if fans work. Do you see that there? 6 item down?
What's the question?
Does he see whether the item fan...
Oh, the
working?
circled one?
Yes, actually, it is circled, and to give you a marked copy. So, would you know what fans are being referenced to there?
The exhaust fans in the garage?
Okay, so are the fans part of the ventilation system?
Yes.
And what's the purpose of checking to see whether the fans are working?
To make sure they're running when they need to run, to keep the exhaust out of the garage, and to keep the garage cool.
Okay, and what would happen if they didn't run?
The garage would get hot, and there could be a buildup of exhaust fumes in the garage.
And could that be a health hazard or safety hazard?
It is a health hazard, particularly to employees who spend their day in the garage.
Okay, what about sick children who walk through it?
I'm not an expert on that.
Okay. Well, if it would be a hazard, safety hazard, and health hazard to adult employees, wouldn't you also presume, since you're not an expert on that either, wouldn't it also be reasonable to say it would be a danger, health hazard to sick children?
My concern for the employees is that they would be in that environment all day.
Do Colonial Shift manage, do you know where the fans are kept at the hospital?
I'm sorry?
Do you know where the fans are located at the hospital?
I do not.
Do you know whether there are keys required to get into any rooms to inspect for the fans?
I do not.
Okay, so is it your position as Colonial's president and CEO that Colonial does not consider it its responsibility to try to keep the premises safe for its customers, only for its employees?
Objection. It's overbroad.
My statement is...
So ask for a legal conclusion.
Sure.
You can answer.
Could you repeat the question?
So is it your position as Colonial's president and CEO that Colonial does not consider it its responsibility to try to keep the premises safe for its customers, only for its employees?
Those activities are governed by contract.
Okay, that's not responsive to the question. Could you please answer the question?
No, it's
that's asked?
responsive.
No, it isn't.
Well, you better ask another question then.
No, that is the question.
Well, I don't know what else you want. What do you want?
I want you to acknowledge that Colonial has a duty to its customers to keep the premises safe, which is consistent with all precedent and all premises liability law. That's what I want. But obviously, Colonial has created this farce for 4 years and is taking this position, and we have to litigate it again in court. So I am doing what the judge required us to do and exploring what Colonial interprets as what the contract says, because after all the objections of the contract speaks for itself, then Colonial turns around and says the contract doesn't speak for itself. This is not what the parties intended. So that's why we're having to do this. I'd be very happy not to have to do this, but this is what we have to do. So,
Okay,
could you please repeat
I
the
have no
question?
idea what that speech was about. The question is, what question do you want to ask Mr. Blair here? He's already answered the last one. What's the next question?
Could you repeat the question, please?
Well, he answered it.
No, he didn't.
So is it your position as Colonial's president and CEO that Colonial does not consider it its responsibility to try to keep the premises safe for its customers, only for its employees?
I think the answer I gave you is the appropriate answer, is that those activities are guided by contract, and I can't make an overly broad statement like that.
Which contract? Because don't you have a contract with your customers who pay to park in your garages?
Okay,
in your
that's been,
colonial
that's been
operating
asked and
garages?
answered about 20 times, and it's also argumentative.
No, I'm trying to get an answer to the basic question here.
You're
And
just
this is being,
arguing
this is
with them.
circular. No, this is
Just
circular.
arguing with them.
I'm trying to get an answer. This is circular. To say the interpretation of the contract is stated in the contract, that's ridiculous, and that's the answer that I'm getting. So I would like an answer to the question. Is it Colonial's position that it has no obligation to its customers to maintain its garages in a manner that is safe for their customers to park in and walk through? Not their cars, but their persons, their children, their sick children in particular.
Okay, it's been asked and answered.
No, it hasn't.
3 times. If
No,
you
it
don't think
hasn't.
so, then go file something with the court. Let's move on.
I'd like an answer to that question.
He has answered it 3 times.
No, he hasn't.
I'll let him answer it a 4th time.
It's a matter of contract.
Ms. Martin? I'm sorry.
Okay. Is this the end of it? Okay.